I'm often asked what this beautiful plant is here that I have in this terracotta pot. It's a good winter project, right? When we don't have much gardening to do, you can go through and separate all of your seeds. These have really made me smile this week as I look out the window when I'm doing dishes and I see that I have something in bloom as we head into the tail end of October. Friends, I have a poison plant in my garden. We're having a gorgeous stretch of weather here in the Northeast for the next 3 or 4 days. It'll be back up in the 70s, and truth be told, I am tired and ready to take a little bit of a winter break from the garden and sort of recharge for next season. But before I can do that, there are still a few things to be taken care of. So I thought that we could do that together today. Hi, it's Steph. Welcome back to my garden. I can't help but share some of this beautiful foliage that is going on here in my New England backyard. I am in Massachusetts. It is Saturday today. I think this 70-degree warm weather is really going to help with this color change that we're having here in the yard. Actually, this morning, I was able to get my family to put on some nicer clothes than sweatpants and take a photo for maybe our Christmas card this year. We haven't done a family photo in a couple of years, but I had to take advantage of this beautiful foliage. But today, what is the plan? I want to give you an update on how the cool weather flowers that I started from seed about a month ago now are looking. I also want to plant my garlic, which I know some of you probably don't plant garlic, but if you haven't yet, it is a super easy crop to try. This will be my 3rd year, and last year in year 2, I was more successful than the year before. The cloves were a little small, but I think that's because I planted them too deep. So we're going to try again this year. And what else do I want to do? I want to collect some seeds. I have some zinnias that now are ready and dry that I can collect some seeds from. And yeah, I thought we would just do a few things. I also have some perennials that I've been planting and a couple of things that are still blooming now in mid-October. So let's just hang out and see what we get to. All right, so the cool weather flowers, I had initially started them outside and thought that because they liked cooler weather that they would be okay to be started outside in September, but it turns out it was a little bit too cold for germination. So I did start seeds again a few days later. So this feverfew was from 9.5 when we initially started these, and those ended up doing okay as soon as I brought them inside under the grow lights and heat mats. But my bachelor's buttons never germinated. So I started the first batch back on 9.4, and then I started new ones just recently on 10.4. So I think I marked the date on this tag here. So 10.4 was the first batch, and again on 10.4. No germination on the first one, but you can see that I have some germination now. And I think what I'm going to do, since we're having a nice few days, is place these outside to kind of harden them off and get them used to the elements. They do need water, so I'll take them outside, water them, and leave them out in the sun for a few hours. Now, the larkspur never germinated. The thing with larkspur is if the seeds are more than 2 years old, they have a really hard time germinating. They also need cold stratification. So for that reason, my seeds were both over 2 years old, and I didn't put them in the freezer first, so they never germinated. But I did order a new pack of larkspur seeds, and I'm going to try those direct outside. But look what did germinate really well. Surprisingly, I did the method of wrapping the seeds in paper towels, putting them in the fridge for 2 weeks, and my delphinium looks awesome. Look at this. Doesn't that look great? Delphinium is typically a bit of a difficult flower to germinate, but I have to say that paper towel method really did help. And the nigella is also looking really good. So let's get these outside and watered. If you're not familiar with the method of cool weather flowers, it's essentially just starting some annuals that are cold hardy in the fall, and they will winter over and bloom sooner for you next spring. And there are certain varieties of plants that are really good to do that with. Feverfew, bachelor's buttons, delphiniums, nigella are some of those. And these are the ones that I started, and I will do the larkspur direct out in the garden. Last month in the video where I started these seeds, I had showed you the book that I picked up, The Cool Flower Method by Lisa Mason Ziegler, and that's what I've been reading to kind of learn a little bit about this cool flower method. Now I'm going to fill these burpee trays at the bottom so that the seedlings can soak up the water. It's always better to bottom water, because if you keep the soil moist on top, that's where you kind of start breeding some fungus gnats. You want to avoid that. So let's check out the garlic varieties that I picked up. But I have been filming in this spot a couple of times in some of my recent videos, and I'm often asked what this beautiful plant is here that I have in this terracotta pot. This is a type of sedum, and it is called Siboldi sedum. And why I really loved the sedum initially was that when I purchased it, it sort of looked like eucalyptus. It had a really beautiful kind of blue color and the same kind of leaf structure as eucalyptus. But as the season goes on, it gets this really beautiful kind of rainbow effect on the foliage. And then you get these little clusters of pink blooms. So it is a really beautiful sedum. If you can find some, highly recommend it. It's really pretty and does really well in this pot. I've had it in this pot since I purchased it. I overwinter it in my shed because I don't want the terracotta pot to crack. And it's done really well. So I actually think I'm going to repot it next season into a bigger pot and some fresh soil, but it's a really pretty one. All right, here is the garlic varieties that I purchased. So I ordered them from Pine Tree Garden Seeds. And here in the Northeast, we have to use hardneck garlic. So depending on where you grow, you'd get soft neck or hard neck. And last year I grew the variety called Music. And this year, I believe I purchased Music again. Yes, hardneck Music and hardneck garlic German white. So let's check out how big the cloves are. Last year I purchased my garlic from Burpee, and this year I'm trying Pine Tree because my friend Steffi at Grown in New England recommended them. So here is the Music garlic, and I purchased, let's see, how much did I get? I believe it was like a 1/4 pound or a 1/2 pound, which gives you 3 big heads of garlic. And here is where I was planning on putting my garlic, in this Vigo bed that we set up at the end of the season last year. Well, mid-season, I would say somewhere around July. And I planted some cosmos and some cleome in it. I even had some zinnias. But these cosmos are still going and there are bees all over them. So I'm actually going to plant the garlic inside the garden in some beds that I've cleared out this week. But look at my Montauk daisies. I didn't do the Chelsea chop on them like I should have, and they are sprawled all over the ground. So lesson learned, next year at some point around Memorial Day, I will go through and give them a Chelsea chop, which is cutting the plant back by about 1/3. I think in this case, I probably could have even done 1/2 so that they would have been more upright, not laying on the ground like this. So I will be sure to do that next season. So tell me in the comments, do you Chelsea chop your Montauk daisies? And I also have some true perennial mums that are blooming. Now, a friend shared these with me, and I'm not sure what the variety is, but I think they are beautiful. Now, I'm pretty sure that they were yellow last year, but this year they're really pale pink and stunning. I have Sheffield mums in my garden as well that are looking beautiful at the moment. But look at these. Aren't they so pretty? I love them, and so do the bees. So gorgeous. It's always such a gift to have beautiful flowers to enjoy in mid-fall. My garden is looking much cleaner. I went through this week and cleared out some zinnias and some cosmos that were just done. And I made room for some of those cool weather flowers that I'm trying to grow, as well as the garlic. But this was a really productive space this season. I've been really happy with it. I still have dahlias blooming their heads off, and they probably will be for the next several days with this nice weather. And I just love the way that these new Vigo beds look in this space. It was a really pretty upgrade, and I'm really happy with it all. The first thing I'm going to do to plant my garlic is separate all my cloves. And each one of these cloves will give you 1 head of garlic, which I always think is really cool. These are some really good sized cloves. All right, that's all of them. If all goes well, I should end up with 19 heads of garlic. The German hardneck. To plant garlic is really easy. You want to plant it with the pointy tip up and the root side down. And you want to put them no more than 2 to 3 inches below the soil level. Now, last year I made a mistake and I went down about 6 inches. And I think that is why my heads of garlic were too small. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my Vigo Hori Hori, which has a really handy ruler on it to tell me how deep I'm going. And I'm going to plant my heads of garlic only about 2 inches deep. So you just want to kind of make a row and space them about 6 to 8 inches apart. And that's where I made my mistake. I thought that I needed to plant them 6 inches deep and 6 to 8 inches apart. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to plant them about 2 to 3 inches deep and about 6 to 8 inches apart. I'm going to add some bone meal to my planting trench here because bone meal is really helpful. It has a lot of phosphorus and it's helpful for root development. So when I plant them, I'm going to give them a good start with some bone meal. So I'm going 6 inches apart with my Vigo Hori Hori ruler here, and I'm going 2 inches deep. All right, I went ahead and I planted the music garlic in the same way, and I added my tag so that I know which row is which. Here's another way that you can plant garlic. If you don't have a hori hori, you can just use your thumb and your index finger, and your thumb is the depth that you want to plant your garlic, so you'd shove that in the soil, and your index finger is the distance. So you would kind of do this thing like that to know where to plant your garlic, and that usually works out pretty well also. So I did that for some of my garlic as well, kind of just to test things out. But to be on the safe side, I did use my hori hori for measurement of depth and distance this year so that I could make sure that I didn't plant them too deep. Once you're done planting your garlic, the last step would be to water everything in. And if you wanted to, you could apply a layer of mulch. Now, a lot of people believe that mulching is a good final step because what that will do is over the winter months when you have frost and thaw cycles, your garlic has the tendency to want to heave out of the soil. So the addition of mulch is to kind of keep the soil at a more consistent temperature and to avoid some of that heaving. And so what I'll do is when my husband George cuts the lawn next, I will have him run over a few piles of leaves with the lawnmower, and that will shred them nice and fine. And I will use that as a top dressing here where my garlic is and as a mulch. And that'll be the last step until the spring, somewhere around March here in my zone 6B, 7A. I will start seeing the green kind of pop through the soil and the leaf mulch. And at that point, it'll be my sign to go through and fertilize it. And what I'll do is I'll apply some plant tone, which is an all-purpose fertilizer, to give them a feed. And then you can do that about once a month until it's time for harvesting. And for me here, my zone, I would harvest at some point in July. So, third year growing garlic. Let's see how I make out. Third time's a charm, right? Let me show you this dahlia. It's called Eidenberg and it is stunning. I am in love with it and I cannot wait to have more of these tubers next year. I purchased a 2-pack just from Home Depot, I believe, and I shared one with a friend, and I hope that hers is looking just as lovely, even when it's in this form. Friends, I have a poison plant in my garden. This is monk's hood and it is poisonous. So if you have pets or small children or children who might pick flowers, you probably don't want to plant this in your garden. I purchased this 3 or 4 years ago on Etsy. I was not aware that it was this toxic when I planted it here. And last year, when I showed it in one of my late season garden tours, one of you had told me that it was very toxic. And so I have my camera on zoom right now to film these flowers. They are very pretty and they have the appearance of being a monk's hood, hence their name. But proceed with caution if you plant these in your garden. I am now afraid to dig them up because they are all toxic. The flowers, the petals, the stems, and especially the roots. So now I'm kind of feeling like I'm stuck with them. But they are really pretty. Look, it's October and they just started to bloom. I just will not touch them. I will leave them here in this corner doing their thing and keep away from them. But monk's hood is poisonous. So if you want to plant it, proceed with caution. And here are my Sheffield mums. These have really made me smile this week as I look out the window when I'm doing dishes and I see that I have something in bloom as we head into the tail end of October is really a lot of fun. These are really beautiful. The bees are really enjoying them. They have this really pretty kind of light pink, sort of apricot peachy color. And there are still tons of buds on these. So my guess is that they will be blooming for at least a couple more weeks. So these true perennial mums are a great addition for late season color in the garden. It's getting to be the time of the season where the annuals that we grew are starting to dry out, and it is the perfect time to go in and collect seeds. So here I have a group of light pink zinnias. The variety was Enchantress, and it was a really beautiful, large, light pink zinnia. This one is starting to fade, but you can just see how many doubles I got from this variety. So many of these large ones, really pretty. So I am actually going to collect this one here that is all dried out on the plant, and I'm going to try to collect, well, I am going to collect the seeds and try to grow this again next year. The thing is, when you collect seeds from plants that you grow, especially zinnias, if you grow them in a garden with other varieties, you may not necessarily get the same zinnia, but it'll still be beautiful, so it's worth trying. So let's go ahead and collect these seeds. Now, what did I mean by you may not necessarily get the same variety? The reason is because many of the zinnias that you purchase are grown in fields, and the growers take extra care to make sure that they keep them isolated so that you get that variety. Because when you have multiple varieties of zinnias growing in your garden, there is going to be some cross-pollination that occurs because the bees will travel from plant to plant. So to collect these seeds, really easy. So you want to wait until your bloom head looks like this. It is all dried out, and then it is super easy. Watch this. You just pull out the petals, and these are all of your seeds at the end of the petal. See that? Now you can separate them out now, or you can just keep them in a bag or a package, a seed pack, just like this, and plant them next season. But you can also separate them like this if you want. It's a good winter project, right? When we don't have much gardening to do, you can go through and separate all of your seeds. But look how many seeds you get from just one zinnia. So many. I always find this a lot of fun. And so I have these little seed packs. I had bought just a package on Amazon that I can go ahead and use my marker and label it. And then I can grow some of these and I can share them with friends. So very easy to collect zinnia seeds. So I have this pink one that is the Enchantress that I'm going to put in this container here in this package. And then I also collected that really beautiful large Bennery's Giant Salmon Rose the other day. You can see that I had cut it to use in a floral arrangement, so it still has some of its color on it. And I'm also going to collect these seeds. We're also going to collect some cosmos. And so here are some that are already ripened. So I'm going to cut this head off and show you up close what that looks like. So this is the stage at which you can collect your cosmos seeds, when they look nice and dry and you can actually already see the formed seeds. There's another one up here that looks pretty dry. And here is another. Now these give you lots of seeds, so you don't need a ton of them. And another flower that's super easy to collect seeds from is Celosia. Look at this. So all of these little black things that you see here, they're not bugs, they're seeds. So you just take this head right here, put it in a little paper bag or a plastic little Ziploc bag opened up so that it doesn't get moldy. And as this dries, all you have to do is kind of shake that bag and all of these seeds will fall in there. And then you can plant them next year. And marigolds are another really satisfying plant to collect seeds from. So this is the sugar and spice marigold that I grew this season. And it was a really pretty, it was supposed to be white, but it's more like a creamy kind of ivory color, sort of like a buttery yellow. And they're so prolific. Let me just show you how many seeds you get off of one of these heads. So let's grab one of these and test that out. So I'm doing this one-handed, but look at that. Do you see that? It looks like little matchsticks. Those are all seeds. Crazy, right? These don't have a very good shelf life, so they only last maybe like 2 years, and then your germination starts to really go down. but they are super prolific. Well, I started the day off pretty tired, but as the day went on and I was working out in my garden, I felt like more energized. So I think that is the thing. This time of year, it is easy to feel tired and to want to just sit in the house with a book, maybe watching a series on TV, but it always feels good. And I always feel like so fulfilled after I've spent some time outside in the garden. Let me know if you feel the same. So that was it for today. Just a little bit of puttering around the garden. I am going to bring those seedlings in now for the night, get cleaned up, and we are going to actually go watch Back to the Future 2. It's a 35 or 30-year anniversary or something that's playing tonight. And George and my son have been really into watching those movies on reruns on TV. So when he found out it was playing in the theater, we got tickets. So we're going to head out and do that and have a family fun night. And I will catch you in the next one. Thank you so much for spending your time with me.